To give us more insight into this conversation, I'm now being joined live virtually in Lagos as we assess all of these fundamentals. Is the Senior Research Analyst at Budget Foundation, NEC, Opaluwa. Good morning and many thanks for joining us on the program.
Good morning, Blessed. How are you doing?
Doing great. It's a pleasure having you join us. Now let's get into the conversation. First off, let me ask you, what is your reaction to the recent hike in the price of petrol before we look at other fundamentals behind this policy?
All right. So regarding the recent hike or increase in petrol price, it's let's say it's not unusual with a deregulated market. The truth is that when you deregulate a market and you allow market forces to determine price, it could go up or it could go down. And one of the things that Subsidy did before was that it acted as a form of buffer or shock absorber between the international price and the local price. So when you look at the oil sector, we have two major sectors that affect price. That is the upstream crude oil prices and then the downstream prices. With the crude oil prices, that is determined by global world markets, which we can't really do anything about. Now, what countries do is that they try to control their downstream sector by ensuring that they refine their products domestically. Now, if you can refine domestically, you have greater control and you can implement certain interventions or measures that can help to control the price. We didn't have functional refineries, so we imported petroleum. And because of that, we were exposed to volatilities in downstream sectors outside Nigeria, things that didn't really affect or didn't originate in our economy. Now, one thing the subsidy did was that it helped as a buffer to cushion the economy against any changes in the foreign price of petroleum products or petrol specifically. So when the price increased in Northwest Europe, the subsidy buffer absorbed that increase because the price in Nigeria was fixed. And the same goes vice versa. When the price reduced, the subsidy volume reduced. But in recent times, that has become difficult to sustain because our economy had faced some setbacks. Revenue was in problematic downtrend. And so the government had to shed off the weight. And in doing so, the country now became exposed to the market volatilities that come with a deregulated system. Not that it is bad, but there ought to be measures in place that would help to manage the effects, most paramount of which should be the implementation of local refining capacity. And since that is still absent, then we are left to use other social or socioeconomic measures, both palliatives, to dampen the effect, pending when we have more sustainable solutions around.
All right, good one. Thank you for that insight. But then again, you made mention of palliative measures and all of that, and that's going to bring me to my next question now. It is obvious that this government were actually not prepared for all of the shockers that they are getting from Nigerians because the policy statement was made with no measures put in place to cushion the effect. And that brings me to this question now. Going by the resolution made by the National Economic Council, you've seen 6 of them. Do you think that these 6 measures have a lot of impact to play on the lives of households and businesses as the ripple effect of fuel subsidy removal is still hampering on the well-being of Nigerians?
Well, in my view, I would say these are actually temporary measures that can be put in place pending when permanent measures are implemented. So we have a new minimum wage that's supposed to be negotiated with labor. Well, that is good. In fact, it's not just Nigeria. There are several countries across the world where workers are asking for increase in their minimum wage. So considering the peculiarities in Nigeria, that is expected to happen. However, my concern is the implementation. We are in an era where revenues are down. We need to do a lot to increase revenues. And seeing how minimum wage will be applied at both the federal and also the state level amidst challenging revenue issues, and that leaves room for, or that means that we have to be innovative as a government and as a people. We have to look for think out of the box on how to raise revenue domestically to make sure we pay the new minimum wage that we are talking about. And that means we need to be really wise, or else governments may have to resort to more borrowing, and we are trying to discourage that, considering our peculiarities in Nigeria. So yes, it's a good move. It's needed. I'm sure workers will be happy to get increased salaries. It would help perhaps increase disposable income. Other measures can be put to as a let's say concurrent measure. The president has made announcements regarding excise duties and some other tax waivers. Perhaps attention should be put on the income tax to see if that could help increase disposable income. But that's just with income. And then there are cash transfers. One thing I like about the cash transfer is that there's a proposal to domesticate the register. I believe states are in a better position to determine which of their citizens are vulnerable or are eligible for such kind of cash transfers, and that register has to be credible and a lot of effort has to be put in it to ensure that it captures the right demography of people that we want to give interventions to. As for cash transfers to or cash awardees to civil servants, well, I know civil servants will be happy about it. As for how effective it would be, with respect to depending on your state, there are some states that the civil service is the largest employer, so that will go a long way in affecting the economy. But I don't know how that will impact local inflation, because there are some challenges that might go with that policy. When the market sees that there's more cash to flow, the markets might respond concurrently, according, at least as history serves. But we see as implementation goes, bear in mind that we also have to watch out for inflation as well. SMEs with single-digit interest rates. Well, like I said, let's see how implementation goes. A lot of these measures seem to be good on paper. I would like to see how implementation would unfold regarding the exact interventions that would play. One other intervention is, I won't call it a short term, is more of a medium to long term, is actually retrofitting vehicles with CNG technology to convert petrol engines to CNG engines, which I think a lot of thought should be put into that. There are standards and safety issues that have to be considered when retrofitting such engines. I think a lot of thought should be put in place for that. Also, in order to have CNG vehicles, a lot of infrastructure has to be put in place in terms of refilling of your fuel source, which is your gas. How will you refuel your gas-powered vehicle if there are no gas pumps around? We only have petrol filling stations around. So that requires investment in infrastructure on how to ensure that distribution goes smoothly. And looking that we are moving to an electric vehicle dominated transport system, I don't know if investing that amount of money in gas infrastructure for gas-powered vehicles would be wise, looking that we will still have to change all of that to infrastructure for electric vehicles. So a lot of thought have been put in place, but I think some of them could be reviewed or thought well, at least more properly, before implementation comes.